A big Saturday of sports here on STL Sports Central. Post-game shows coming your way for Mizzou and for Illinois. Rock, I guess, is going to talk City. And also, the Cardinals are still playing.
That they are.
For the next, 9 days, 8 days? So we kick off your morning with Card Central 365, powered by Gray Bar here on STL Sports Central. All content brought to you by DraftKings. The crown is yours. Joe Roderick, Brenden, Schaeffer with you. Brenden, last night in the Cardinal game, they batted around in the fifth inning. And I could not find the last time that they've done that this season, or if they have this season, but it is well known. They have not hit a grand slam this year. Grand slams have just avoided the state of Missouri this season.
Yeah, so, the Royals don't have one either, right?
No, they are the only two teams in baseball. But it prompted the question, Brenden. The Cardinals did send 10 men to the plate in the fifth inning. Is it batting around if you send all 9 to the plate, or does that leadoff hitter need to bat a second time?
I'm going to begin by saying there are a lot of topics that I'll feel really strongly about, and I'll argue them to the death, and this isn't one of them.
No, it's not for me either, but it was a
question
that came up last night.
So logically, it would make sense to say the next guy has to bat because then you've done the around. What do you call it if only 9 do? If you don't consider that?
You sent all 9 up to the plate.
You sent all 9?
Yeah.
Sent all 9 to the plate. That's very wordy. I like batting around better. So
what I need is Derek Gould in the press box to have to cross off the next inning and put another guy on there and then have to adjust the rest of it as he's keeping the book up there. That's what I need, yes.
Almost to be just obstinate, I might go the other way and say that if you get 9, that's batting around. But the logic is on the other side. The logic is on the side of the leadoff batter needs to bat again. But like I said, I don't feel strongly, and so maybe I'll be contrary and give a hot take for YouTube just to spice things up a bit.
I put a poll up on Twitter at 10:30 p.m., which is always a great time to start poll questions on a Friday night.
Too. Yeah,
and 65% of the people said that it just need to send 9 to the plate.
Okay, so I'm not in the minority, but I would say I'm not on the side of logic. I put 2 polls up last night. I said Big 12 trivia.
I didn't see that.
I said who is worse in football, Oklahoma State or Kansas State, and Matt Pauley didn't appreciate that one.
Nice.
As a K-State guy. I said, hey, if it helps, your team's not winning the polls, so they think the other guys are worse.
Did you remember that he was a K-State guy when you said that?
Not as I sent it, but when I saw the response, I went, oh, yep, that's my bad. It's just like last year when I was calling Kurt Signetti names and Tom Ackerman was like, "Can we calm down a little bit?" I was like, "That's fair. You're right. That's my bad. I will."
I made a mistake recently with Paulie forgetting he was a K-State guy, talking about how useless the state of Kansas is to drive through.
Oh no!
And and he goes, "Well, Manhattan's not bad." And I was like, "Oh yeah, that's right."
We're bad people. We are just bad human beings. But I also put out a poll asking if people were panicking about the Caden Green injury. So that was the other thing. Like my Mizzou masochism was coming out to play. We will talk about this rebuild stuff. I thought an interesting article by Katie Wu yesterday, but I want to pull up Samuel's comment. The hardest hit ball I've ever seen. Jordan Walker, every once in a while, man, he just absolutely nukes one, which is why I've said this on plenty of shows here. I am stubborn about Jordan Walker. There is no way that I'm trading that guy this winter because I know he has no real tangible value, especially given the topic we're about to talk about when it comes to a rebuild. You got nothing to lose other than to roll that kid out for a couple more years and see if he's able to put it all together. If you're not putting the expectations up here for 26 and 7, don't let him thrive with somebody else. Be stubborn about it and say, a guy that can hit a ball like that, let's cultivate that a little bit longer while we can. That's my argument for the Cardinals and Jordan Walker.
Yeah, we will get into that. They won last night 7-1. If you feel so inclined, you can go back and listen and watch the post-game show that is up there in the live section of YouTube on the STL Sports Central page. But stick around for the next several minutes as Brenden and I talk to you here on Cards Central 365, which is powered by Gray Bar, your distributor for electrical and datacom needs. And so, Brenden, the topic you wanted to get into today, the article you sent me, and I'm sure many people have taken a look at it, is the one written by Katie Wu in the New York Times and the Athletic from yesterday, talking about the rebuild, titled "What Have the Cardinals Really Answered During a Transition Season Full of Questions," and kind of going over everything that everything that has happened here over the last 155 games or so this year, knowing that it was a runway season, knowing that the kids were going to get their at bats. And I do like that she started off the article promoting, the successes of Alec Burleson. Last night, I was listening to a portion of the game on KMOX, driving around, and heard them. I don't know if it was in reference to this article, if it was just a separate conversation with Alec Burleson, but I absolutely love the confidence that Alec Burleson has right now going into it, because I said, and I've said many times this whole season, I thought, even though he earned a starting spot on opening day and has played most of the season, I thought he had a raw deal coming in to spring training last year. I thought he did enough last year to where the organization should have said, hey, you're starting every day. Not sure if it's DH, first base, left field, right field. Not sure where it's going to be. You are getting that lineup because you earned your spot. And it felt like they made him re-earn it again at spring training, where others, I think, were kind of, hey, you got the runway, you're on it. And Alec Burleson, whether he just is and I honestly have had, I can't recall any conversations I've had with Alec Burleson. Maybe you have. But I don't know if he's a guy that plays with a chip on his shoulder or a guy that just kind of goes out there and does his job. But I am so happy to see the success that he's had this year.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. Like, part of the reason that I wonder if it's been sort of a slow build to his consistent opportunity is this long-term idea from the organization that they believed in what Burleson is, and they don't have to find out more about him. They know that when his time comes around, it's just going to be there. And like, you think about what they were trying to accomplish at the beginning of this year with guys like Walker and Gorman, and trying to figure out certain guys and making sure, like, all right, let's give the playing time to Nootbaar to see if he can make it through a season healthy. And then, like, you find out that, okay, he's still dealing with some durability concerns. And Burley just wasn't one of those guys. And so, almost to a fault, he was this known commodity where it was like, for a moment there, you couldn't really give him the playing time because you were trying to find out about all these other dudes. Once you got to a point in the season, though, it was never going to be that way the whole year. Once you got to a point in the season and Burley got his opportunity to shine, it kind of the smarter opportunities prevail, where it's like, okay, he's just going to play. And he is. Steve's right. I think he does get better every year. He's improved defensively, where the Cardinals a year ago would have said, this guy's a butcher in the field. We can't put him in the outfield. And I don't really think they internally feel that way anymore about him, given the work that he's put in, which is great, because you have still those log jams of, the positional aspects where you want to find a spot to keep him and put him. But Burleson's been, kind of flexible enough and versatile enough that they've been able to put him in the corners. They can put him at first base, and obviously you could DH him if you had to. But I think he's kind of come up the pecking order in that regard as well, where, going into next year, he's one of the mainstays, and batting average is strong. OPS is above 800. There's only a couple of guys that can claim that. He's had a really, really good year, and it does stand out in a positive way.
And I'll say that for Samuel, what he asked there, how do you win a lineup spot without a position? I am of the belief that if you bring your bat, you bring your bat to the ballpark, I'll find somewhere to put you in that lineup or in that field, and I don't care. At the end of the day, if you hit the way Alec Burleson hits, there's not going to be a whole lot of games he's going to cost you defensively in the field. I can remember one that I was at. I can't remember if they lost the game, but he was in right field, took a terrible route at a ball, and it's one of those things that you kind of look at it and you go, okay, hey, that might happen once every other week. but he's going to go up there and hit, and you hope that it makes up for it by the end of the year with that. I think that's, it's one of those where you kind of look at the metrics of the whole thing, and I think Alec Burleson is above that right now. And I disagree with Jen's saying this with Burleson. Honestly, as of right now, left field. If you would, like what you just said, Walker, if you're giving Walker this opportunity to hit baseballs hard and see what happens with that, I mean, Walker's your right fielder, Burleson's your left fielder, and you kind of move on from other aspects of it, whether it's Newbar or Donovan that I know we're going to get into or whatever.
Yeah, so like this will be interesting to see the way the offseason unfolds. Burley's got an everyday spot. Samuel makes the point, like, if you have a lesser fielder, would you like to anchor that guy to one spot to give that player a chance to improve? I could see the argument behind that, but I also, the Walker thing is interesting because while I wouldn't trade him, I don't know that I bestow a spot to him, but if they're really trading away anybody that's arbitration eligible, like if Newbar's traded and Donovan is traded, as Katie Wu writes in her article for The Athletic, basically, it seems as though now the premise of this post in the story is that the Cardinals are maybe going to be more ready to embrace the R word rebuild rather than avoid it like the plague, like they did all year with Mozeliak and using every word but rebuild. They're, going to be more willing to use it. And if that's what you're doing, and that means like it'll be a couple of years before you really are ready to reinvest, that does put me on notice when it comes to a guy like Brenden Donovan, feeling like, okay, if they're rebuilding and they're saying 2 to 3 years, he's a free agent after 2 more years. If his value is high coming off of an all-star season, this new guy, Chaim Bloom, he might do it. And I'm against that, but I understand that, like, I might be swimming upstream on this thing because if the Cardinals are rebuilding, that's what that looks like. It looks like trading away the guys with 1 or 2 years of team control while they still have some value, and maybe not even waiting till the trade deadline to do it. Like, that's another option, but then you risk values changing, going down, whatever the case may be. It really feels like they're just trying to restock, and that's going to mean potentially some lean times, but that could also lead to, Joe, just throwing Jordan Walker out there in right field. If to your point, Newbar's gone, you can play a Burleson in left field, then maybe that we're almost regardless of what Walker produces. And like, that's not going to be conducive to wins if Walker plays again next year, like he did this year. But if that's just where the Cardinals are as an organization, then, maybe that's what we end up seeing. I don't know about this comment from Bill. It says you put Walker out there, then you can't have Scott playing center. And you'll definitely need a left fielder that can hit. I don't agree. I think if you're trying to win the World Series next year, that's true, but I don't think that's what they're trying to do. I think Scott is going to be the reason almost, Joe, that you can put 2 corner outfielders that don't maybe have the range necessarily defensively. It's going to be up to Vic to just cover it all. That could be your outfield. I don't know.
I can also see the Cardinals going into next spring training, making Victor Scott and Michael Ciani battle it out again and earn that center field spot again.
I don't think that's a thing. Maybe I'm wrong. We
didn't really. Victor Scott. I know Victor Scott earned it this year after kind of disappearing last year off the face of the earth. And Victor Scott showed up and earned the starting spot this year and held on to it all year. I wonder if there's anything. I mean, Michael Ciani didn't do enough to impress the organization to move him up to the majors at any point this year. I do wonder if, going into it, though, there could be things that Ciani can do to impress the team again in spring training.
I'm gonna say that's unlikely. Not to say he couldn't be on the roster next year, but you're still talking about 2 left-handed hitting center fielders that have the same profile. One thing that I think would make sense for Chaim Bloom to do is have, if you're trading some guys, whatever, but whatever you're bringing back in, and you're not going to pay for it, that's going to be the problem, and it's going to be what limits the Cardinals offseason is just if they're not going to spend money. But a right-handed hitting outfield complement, which they tried. They cycled through a number of these types of guys, but it's why you had like Ryan Valade playing Cardinal baseball this year. It's why you had,
he was on the team.
Garrett Hampson, like you had these guys that obviously were not the answer. They plugged Jose Barrero. They tried that. That didn't go well. They were looking for it and they know they need it, but maybe Chaim Bloom can accomplish it in a way that Mo on the fly this year was not really able to do it. They tried, they cycled through some guys and none of them were the guy that could fit that role. But frankly, I think we know that Michael Ciani's offensive upside is capped, and Victor's might be too. But I think I'm more willing with a guy that's stolen 30 plus bases and plays the defense that he's played, and he's so young still. Like Victor Scott can be, can continue to ascend in the way that we're hoping to see and have kind of seen at times from Mason Wynn, become a more complete player at the plate. And frankly, if you're rebuilding, and like, it's very funny because my dad will send me texts and he's like, I don't understand why they don't lead off Victor Scott. And he's been on this campaign all year. And I'm like, Dad, his on-base percentage is not very good. But in fairness, like the people that they've used oftentimes have not had high on-base percentages either. If you're rebuilding, that is an example where I would I don't care if he's Billy Hamilton. I'm going to lead him off. Like he could be that bad of a hitter for his career. Next year, why not lead off Victor Scott and say, we're going to really propel you into being the type of player we think you could become. And if you stink, okay, but it sounds like we're going to be doing a lot of that next year. So I would be creative in the way that I try to force the issue with certain things, but I'm leaning more into it's not runway. It's just Victor Scott's my center fielder because we're going to set a precedent where it's okay if we lose 90 games, and he's either going to be kind of what he was this year, which is still a plus player because of his defense and his base running. He's not had the numbers offensively. But if you pour into him and say, you're our guy, and you're not only our guy, you're our leadoff guy. If you're trading Newpar and Donovan, why not? Just do it. And then what if that sort of gives him the confidence to become the player that has a 720 OPS, makes him league average, and now he's one of the more valuable players in Major League Baseball because he turns from a 20% below average hitter to just a flat average one. I would do stuff like that next year. So I'm not looking to Ciani to take time from Victor Scott. Victor Scott has the upside and the ceiling that in a year where it's a rebuild, if we're going to be allowed to call it that, Victor Scott's starting 150 games for me in center field. I don't really care about the platoon. I don't care about his numbers. I'm going to see if that guy can become a true stalwart for the next decade, or if he's going to be more of on a contender, more of a platoon player. That's what I can continue to pour into a 23-year-old, 24-year-old outfielder.
In Katie's article, she links to a article from earlier this week by Ken Rosenthal, who wrote about kind of the sweeping changes coming to the Cardinals. And this is kind of where the Brenden Donovan discussion began this week, and it kind of led to a lot of what Katie had to say in his article, and points to a lot of Chaim Bloom's successes, a lot of his moves, a lot of his draft picks and trades during his time in Boston. So to get the national point of view of that, of what the Cardinals could be looking at is definitely worth reading into and seeing what others might be hearing around Major League Baseball. Just kind of going about the fact that Donovan is, as you mentioned, he might leave as a free agent by the time the team's good again. And as of right now, there's not a higher ceiling for Brenden Donovan to trade him than there is right this moment. And you can get guys that you don't need to get major league ready guys next year. You don't need to settle for a number 3 or a number 4 starter. I think you can get 2 guys from another organization that might be top 10 prospects that would be ready to go by 2028.
Yeah, and that's kind of the way, and Jay mentions all for a rebuild. What do you have other than JJ Weatherhold? So that sort of seems, go ahead.
No, I'm just that's to think that all you have for a rebuild right now is JJ Weatherhold is, I know, it is very small-minded thinking of, again, the fact that you and I have talked about a lot. Fans aren't ready for a rebuild. You can't get mad at the bullpen blowing a game like last Saturday and then call for a rebuild. They are in the middle of it. They traded away their whole bullpen. So, of course, every now and then they're going to shit the bed in a game like they did last Saturday. So to sit there and think that you only have J.J. Weatherholt is ridiculous, because you have a Gold Glove shortstop who is how old's Mason Wynn?
What is he? 22, 23, whatever he is.
22-year-old Gold Glove shortstop. That's what you have. So you're going to have 2 infielders. Yeah, you're going to have 2 infielders that Mason Wynn is already again, Mason Wind is the face of your franchise at 22, 23 years old.
And that's what I don't like, by the way, about this rebuild thing. And again, I know that a lot of fans are like, duh, they've needed one for 3 years. But my take is not that. To me, what my concern is that this kind of vernacular, we're going, oh, it's rebuild. It's going to be a couple of years, everybody. To me, that all that does is it serves to take ownership off the hook from doing some of the things they could do to remain competitive right now while doing all of the responsible things. I'm not saying you have to spend a bunch of money, but when we look at a rotation, let's just say they're not going to trade veterans because they don't want to get demonstrably worse. And maybe they can get real value for Sonny Gray. And if so, absolutely, get young prospects for him and let somebody else pay his contract. I'm not convinced it's going to go that way. Largely, the Cardinals are going to hope that they can get the Giants or somebody else to eat money with Sonny Gray. They'll get somebody back. But it's not going to be, and the same thing with Arenado. It's what Arenado would have been last offseason. That's what Sonny Gray, to me, if I had to predict it, will be this offseason. Maybe it's different because pitching has more value, and so you can have a higher expectation to get something good back. But that's $35 million on the books, so that's going to offset the value you can receive in a trade in terms of prospect capital. And so if you're trading Arenado and whatever that somebody else will eat, if you're trading Gray and whatever somebody else will eat, what are you accomplishing? You are lowering the payroll. But how are you progressing a rebuild to be able to accomplish the things that you want to accomplish? My thought would be, yes, trade the guys that have value. Nootbaar will have some. You could even make the case that Brenden Donovan would have some. But I would also look at it and say you could find a way to put together a lineup with whether, like my idea of Victor Scott leading off. Maybe that doesn't happen. And maybe if you had Donovan here, because I want to construct what it looks like if they're not going to fully tear it down and rebuild. Like Donovan, Herrera, it was mentioned in our comments, Herrera could be the left fielder. And like, I think that's fair. If you're just talking about like merit, Jordan Walker has not earned everyday playing time next year, but I'm also simultaneously not going to trade him. I want to see him take the steps to then earn it like Burleson had to. Like Burleson, like you just said it, Joe, Burleson didn't get everything handed to him. He had to earn some things. And so, if you approach it that way, Herrera, your left fielder, Burleson, your right fielder, Contreras, your first baseman, Gorman, Wynn. On the way down, you'll have a catcher in there, whether it's Pajes or whoever it is. Center field, if Scott bats ninth, I maybe missed one spot, but like Donovan, Herrera, Burleson, Contreras, Gorman, Wynn, one more piece who's I'm forgetting off the top of my head. It's a lineup that's like decent. Okay, what about the starting pitching? Sonny Gray, McGreevy, Liberatore.
That's the biggest question. Yeah, that's the thing.
So my point
yeah. Go ahead.
I just want to get this out because those three are like, okay, that's passable. But if you're wrapping that up with Palante mega question mark in the 5 spot, you're not, that's not going to get the job done. What I'm saying about this rebuild thing is, to me, I'm concerned that it's just a way to kind of cover, and ownership won't have to do what they obviously need to do, which is spend a little bit of money. Like, especially if you're trading Arenado, getting a little bit of that off the books. Michaelis comes off the books. Fetty's off the books. What if you just spent $10 million on 2 starters? Like, just give me 2 Jose Quintanas and see what you got. You might say, well, Brenden, they need to rebuild. They need to. I know, but that's basically you're going to continue to draft and develop while you do that. Why do they need to lose 90 games in order to get to the other side of it? It's just going to allow them to really do it on a shoestring budget. And maybe they'll find a Jose Quintana and that'll be within the budget. But Mike, like, if they don't add anybody again this offseason, because it really is just that much about cost savings, who's your number 5 starter? I guess is it Leahy? Is somebody ready from AAA? Like, there's a realm in which there's enough on this team to not be terrible next year. Like, they're not terrible this year. They're not very good. But I'm going to be very curious to see. I'm not advocating against like trading Lars Nootbaar. I think it makes sense to move him while you can.
And that's Donovan, what you need. Like that's again your point of spend $10 million and get 2 starters. And this is where it kind of goes against what I said earlier of going out and getting some top 10 prospects from a team for a guy like Donovan.
If you can for Donovan, fine.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you right now. I mean, the pitching next year might suck. And it might be a long year. Like, if the offense, the names you mentioned, if the offense figures it out and it's fun to watch, you might lose a lot of games 9-8 next year.
Yeah.
because
No, they might.
the pitching's not there. And if you want to be realistic and have a team that's going to be competitive in 2028, the next year, I mean, you might have to bite the bullet and understand that next year's pitching is going to suck.
And it is potentially, but couldn't you just sign a couple guys on the cheap? I'm talking about dumpster diving. All I'm asking for is dumpster diving. I'm not asking for the world. And maybe that's part of, like, they'll still dumpster dive while they rebuild because, the money going out is going to be greater than the money coming in. But, like, especially if you're truly rebuilding, you're trading Sonny Gray, right? I mean, you're going to ask Contreras again if he wants to move, because if he's moved, then it's really easy. Burleson plays first base and Walker does get bestowed right field, whether he has earned it or not, because then you let him play. People asked about, is Nathan Church already gone? Nathan Church is a non-prospect, but if they're trading a bunch of guys, Nathan Church is going to be on the team next year. Like, you've got a lot of those type of situations to be like, okay, you're rebuilding. Just how bad are you ready to be? And my thought would be, you don't have to be terrible with even if you traded Sonny Gray, Nootbaar, and Donovan, because you're just trying to recruit prospects and reset the timeline. Okay, that's totally fine. You owe it to fans to, like, have a tenable 1 through 5. You owe it to Ollie Marmol to have a tenable 1 through 5 in that rotation. Like that, pitching is the whole thing. It makes the world go around. So I would hope they're at least willing to dumpster dive. Or maybe
I'll say this. I'll go with this. I mean, for Graham's point, I'll say this. They traded Paul. Do you know who they traded Paul DeYoung for?
I do. Matt Swanson.
I know. Like, are we not get like that's a lottery ticket right there? Matt Swanson has provided more to the Cardinals this year than Paul DeYoung did in 23 when they traded him. Yeah. So that's kind of what I look at. Like, that's a lottery ticket. Going out there and going and be like, sure, we'll get, we'll take that guy. Yeah. And we'll see what he does. That's a lottery ticket. I would consider John King probably to be a lottery ticket.
Well, John King was more like they needed a lefty in their bullpen that day.
Yeah.
So they included him in the trade. But like
Jojo Romero's kind of a lottery ticket. Like, that's one where it's like, listen, Edmundo Sosa's not going to play for us that much.
Yeah.
You know what? Hey, who do you have? Okay, sure, we'll take him. And I mean, he was really, really, really close to being flipped for something decent at the end of the, at the trade deadline too. Before the Cardinals kind of stopped in and said, "All right, let's settle down here."
So to your point with all this, like, I don't want them to trade Brenden Donovan. I think he's a team leader. I think he's a guy that you re-sign. It doesn't sound like contract extensions are coming down the pike. So that means today I'm going to tell you they're going to trade Brenden Donovan this winter. Like, I'll be surprised if they don't, based on the way the groundwork is being laid, the way that Katie Woo is what she's being told, and then she reports. That is what it tells me, is that they're going to move Donovan. They're almost certainly moving Nootbaar. Nootbaar's more likely to be moved than Donovan based on this vibe I would have. But, if that's the way that they're going, it's going to be interesting. And then Steve mentions names like Reed Detmers. Like, I think these trades of the Cardinals names that we're talking about moving out aren't going to be traded for guys that can help you right away. That's what a rebuild means. It means, like, trading for AA prospects. Like you said, Joe, it doesn't have to be guys that can help you right away. It's guys that are ranked in the top 10 in somebody's system. And to your point about Romero and these other recent trades, Paul DeYoung was not performing in that point in time, and he was on an expiring contract, and he was being paid, like, overpaid. You can get better pieces than that for Nootbaar and Brenden Donovan. It sounds as though the Cardinals are going to be pretty willing to explore that. And so, Uncle John mentions Donovan won't be a Cardinal next season, so JC is the new utility guy. It's like, is the JC as good as Donovan? No, but guess what? Like, he's gonna play that role, and maybe he surprises you, and maybe a Nathan Church surprises you, and maybe certain guys that you don't, and that can be what expedites a rebuild. But my concern is all about the pitching. You can do almost whatever you want on trading and swapping in and out position players, and we're going to get to find out about some guys, and that can be kind of fun too. But you know what's not fun is sitting through a season where the pitching just doesn't have it. And there's no way around that. And so that's why I like to continue allowing everybody else on the team to develop and become the team that you're hoping to have in 2028. You got to at least make sure the bottom doesn't fall out of your pitching. And if you're trading Sonny Gray to save some money, get some prospects, be willing to sign a couple free agents on the backside of that. Because I also think there's a world where like Quinn Matthews pitches for the Cardinals next year, and Liam Doyle could pitch for the Cardinals at some point next year. And then suddenly we're going Matthews, Doyle, McGreevy, Liberatore. Like, wait a second. In a year, it could look very different, Joe. But to start 2026, even if you're rebuilding and trading position players, would really like to see them spend a little bit in free agency on some starting pitching to give them a fighting chance, because it's not going to cost them much money to do that. And I think it's worth showing your fans that you're like, yeah, we're rebuilding, but we're at least going to try to put a product on the field.
Hey, we're about 20 minutes away from kickoff on another college football Saturday. Jump on that DraftKings Pick 6 app if you have it. And if you don't, why the hell have you waited so long to get in on it? But also, Missouri, get ready because the wait's almost over on the DraftKings Sportsbook app. December 1st is when it goes live for you in Missouri. $300 in bonus bets when we launch on December 1st. Get in on the action. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use code STL Sports to grab $300 in bonus bets with just a $5 bet when they go live on December 1st. That's code STL Sports in partnership with DraftKings Sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 plus. Physically present in Missouri. Eligibility restrictions apply. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. Excludes customers who redeem pre-launch sign-up offer. Terms at sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos. And I am liking, as of right now, I'm liking that Tennessee over for the day after the after the loss last week to Georgia.
Oh, Tennessee, I don't even know who they're playing. They play nobody.
UAB
okay.
With the over at 68.5 is
wow.
Is
look
what
at you.
Yeah.
It just gambling fool over here.
But yeah, the kickoff starting here in about 18 minutes. Busy night on STL Sports Central. Brenden, you have to go change shirts and put something black on because I know you are heading to Columbia, and you will be watching your Tigers bury them cocks in Columbia.
I think we just got a content rating, but please do that. I mean, please win. Oh my gosh, please win. I'm a nervous wreck about a game where Mizzou's favored by 10, and I almost wish they weren't favored by 10 because I'd feel like, all right, it's what we thought it was. But yep, a lot going on, and
Indiana hosting the number 9 ranked Fighting Illini. You got the Cardinals, City. All I know is they're playing somewhere out west because it's a late start time. That's the extent of my knowledge there. And then, of course,
we let Rock handle that.
It's WrestlePalooza also on ESPN tonight.
That's a made-up word. That's not a thing.
Oh, it's
the
dumbest. It is
WrestlePalooza. They can't all be real. You guys are making these up.
Slap more ratings on it. It's the dumbest fucking name that I've ever heard in wrestling.
That's ChatGPT came up with WrestlePalooza. I'm sorry.
They let Stephen A. Smith come up with that pay-per-view name for the first one on ESPN. But that's also on tonight. So I have moved a third TV to the basement.
I've done that too. Yeah.
For the ready to go for the evening for that. So lots of stuff going on here on STL Sports Central. But most importantly, as I said, it's Brock Lesnar versus John Cena for one last time at WrestlePalooza. Brenden, enjoy your time in Columbia West tonight. Hopefully you guys take home a W. I would love to see the Tigers undefeated going up against Alabama, and I would also like to see Illinois undefeated going against Ohio State here in a few weeks as well. That would also be very
beat that nice. Fraud Signetti. Let's go.
All right, that's going to wrap it up for us. Hey, if you are watching this not live, feel free to join in on the comment section and let us know your thoughts on everything that we've been yapping about here for the last half hour here on Card Central 365. Brought to you by Gray Bar. All content brought to you by DraftKings. The crown is yours.